An English teacher was once constantly harassed by a young student who insisted on marrying her. Each time, she would just laugh loudly and tell Shu to grow up a little more before talking about marriage. Although he was very cute, she couldn't take it seriously, so she blurted out a promise to come back when he turned 18. Time passed, Shu entered middle school, but he still regularly visited her every week, only to ask one question: "Do you have a boyfriend yet?" It was like an adorable habit of a child. Then Shu finished his high school exams and he stopped coming. One drunken evening, she sat reminiscing about her golden age, when declarations of love echoed through the classroom. Now even elementary school students know about romance. As for her, at 35, she was still lonely and quietly drank alcohol after class. She told herself that perhaps Shu had found a girlfriend, and that was why he no longer came to visit. She longed for someone brave enough to propose to her like Shu used to. But she also understood that nothing would change if she just stayed seated like those gamers who never leave their chairs. With that thought in mind, she started browsing through some online dating sites. Suddenly, the doorbell rang. She thought it was a delivery for her new lingerie order, so she went out to open the door. The person standing in front of her wasn't the delivery man, but it was Xiaoda, who was no longer a child. The young man stood upright and declared that he was 18 years old, and he came to fulfill his promise from years ago, to propose to her. The teacher was stunned. The little boy from before had now become a young man who was exactly her type. And the moment she silently gazed at him, that was when a whole new story was about to begin. Shuda asked if things still couldn't work out, disappointment clearly visible on his face. He assumed she probably wasn't interested in his type, but the teacher, after regaining her composure, admitted that she actually liked Shuta's type. She asked if he was wearing his uniform. Shuta replied that he was on his way home from school. Hearing this, she told him to wait until he graduated. But Shuta couldn't wait any longer. She worried she would be labeled a criminal, but Shuta reassured her that he was already 18 years old. When Shuta first saw her as a child, Shuta felt as if she shone brightly like the sun. She was so beautiful that he couldn't utter a single word. His mother came out and scolded him for not greeting the adults. Later, the teacher opened a conversational English class for young children on 5th Street. When Shuta's mother brought him there, she invited them to try the class. His mother was about to refuse, but Shuta immediately started speaking English incoherently, pleading that he wanted to learn. He desperately tried to convince his parents to let him go to school, just so he could see that woman again. Anyone would do the same if they were in his situation. In class, she taught Shuta English pronunciation, meticulously guiding him on tongue placement and mouth shape. He tried to imitate, but still mispronounced the words, so she moved closer and showed him every movement of her mouth. At that very moment, he became even more infatuated. Later, when he told his friends that he was going to marry his teacher, Shuta's story truly began. His friends teased Shuta when they found out he had dropped out of English class. When they asked why, he just stayed silent. The truth was, his parents wouldn't let him continue his education after 6th grade. They burst out laughing, saying the teacher must already have a boyfriend and would never agree to marry a kid like him. A lighthearted verbal sparring match broke out among the group of friends. One of them, showing off their intelligence, said that they still had 5 years before turning 18. And during that time, things could change a lot. She asked Shuta what would happen if he wasn't her type anymore in the future. From that day on, Shuta came to ask her the same question every day. Did she have a boyfriend? He became a professional stalker, secretly learning about her interests, and joined the baseball club simply because he knew she loved the sport. He even used hair wax to look like the player she was a huge fan of. But then one day, during practice, Shuta experienced knee pain due to Osgood-Schlatter syndrome, a disease caused by overexertion during childhood. For the next 2 years of school, he endured excruciating pain all over his body. During that time, his body grew so rapidly that his face matured like an adult's. This made him feel embarrassed and afraid she would reject him because of the sudden change. Because of this, he stopped visiting her. Even when Fujita, a pretty girl, confessed her feelings to him, he rejected her. When Fujita asked who he liked, Shuta simply replied, "They don't study at the school." His friends were later furious that he had rejected someone as wonderful as Fujita and told him to forget about the teacher. It had been a long time since Shuta had seen her. If he suddenly showed up now, the teacher would surely be startled. But in Shuta's heart, the feelings from that day hadn't faded at all. Shuta pulled out a picture of his teacher's favorite baseball player, then pointed to his face, saying he looked exactly like him. With the fervent belief of first love, he thought that if he resembled the person she liked, she would love him back. Her friends were more practical. They asked what if she already had a boyfriend. But Shuta didn't mind. As long as she was happy, his feelings were enough to satisfy him. Now, standing before her after all these years, his heart fluttered again. She was still as cute as ever, but her face was flushed with embarrassment. She began to panic. Shuta was almost 17 years younger than her. In her eyes, he would always remain just the little schoolboy he once was. Shuta unexpectedly hugged her tightly, asserting that he was no longer a child. But she pushed him away. She shouted. To her, he was still a child. She was angry that he dared to act like an adult to hug her, saying that she wasn't stupid enough to be fooled by such tricks. Looking at the clock, which showed 7 p.m., she angrily asked him if there was still a curfew, since he was still a student. Her anger flared up. She questioned whether he understood what marriage was and how he could possibly provide for a family without a job. For her, a marriage proposal should only be made to someone truly important, and only when they are mature adults. Shuta remained still, gazing at her adoringly. Being scolded by her after all these years made his heart feel warm, just like it used to be. She tried to push him out the door, but he said calmly and sincerely, "If I graduate and get a job, will you marry me?" Shuta's blunt question made the teacher blush. She stammered that things had to be done in order, dating first. She covered her face in embarrassment, admitting that he was daydreaming too much. She was 17 years older than him, an old maid in his eyes. She has no hobbies, is a terrible cook, and lives sloppily. And she had nothing interesting about her except her ability to speak English. Painful memories flooded back. Her former boyfriend had abandoned her because she was too boring. She wouldn't let him go any further and treated him like a child. He called her boring and then went after another girl. She sighed, admitting she was too boring for anyone to fall in love with. But Shuta just smiled, gently asking if she liked him. The simple question brought tears to her eyes. Memories of the boy who years ago swore he would always love her suddenly flooded back. Shuta gently kissed her hand. He apologized for choosing to have such an important conversation while she was drunk. He promised to think seriously about his future and become a real man, and he will keep confessing his love until she finds someone she loves and is truly happy. Trembling, she told him to give up, to go back to school and fall in love with some cute girl. But Shuta confessed. For 8 years since he was a child, his heart had never belonged to anyone else. He didn't want to rush to the final result. He wanted to get closer to her, little by little, the girl he always found both adorable and mischievous, the person who made his heart race from the first time he met her. She was confused because she had long considered Shuta like her own son. But Shuta just chuckled, saying that she was trying to avoid the topic by doing so. Her name is Hinata, and he loves that very person, Hinata, the woman he only met once a week during his 3 years of elementary school, but who left a lasting impression on his heart. Hinata sighed and advised Shuta to think carefully. He has a whole future ahead of him, while she will age much faster. She's boring and unremarkable, but Shuta simply emphasized that only he had the right to decide who he loved. He didn't care about age or what others thought. He just wants to live in the present, and now he loves her. Although Hinata admitted that he was very kind, she still believed that people change, and this relationship wouldn't last. But Shuta only hoped for one thing. If anything were to change, he hoped she would start to love him. Hinata was startled. She yelled that he was too optimistic and sent him away. But before leaving, Shuta didn't forget to mention that now, once they turn 18, they can both legally get married. Hinata stiffened. reminding everyone that marriage requires mutual agreement from both sides. Shuda smiled, saying that he would work hard so that she could see him as a real man, that he was no longer a student. He also warned that being 18 means they can do anything. Then he turned his back and walked away. The door had just closed. Hinata screamed in anger, embarrassed and confused. She had just cried in front of a boy 17 years younger than her, and now he had said such things to her. He was tall and confident, which made her heart flutter. If things continue like this, she fears she might actually fall for him. To regain her composure, she decided to take a shower. Immerse yourself in water. Hinata felt a strange electric current running through her body. Are you the one who will heal her broken heart? But then she slapped herself to bring herself back to reality. There was no way she would fall in love with or marry someone 17 years younger than her. As her body began to age and sag in sensitive areas, she didn't want anyone to see it, especially Shuda. And when he said, "I can do anything," she shuddered, wondering what he meant. On Shuda's way back, Shuda received a message from the girl who had previously confessed her feelings to him, an apology and a wish to remain friends. He agreed, and she asked if she could call him. At that moment, Shuda realized he had forgotten to ask for Hinata's phone number. Not long after, Shuda was standing at her doorstep again, but Hinata didn't open the door. She refused to let him in because he was no longer her student. Shuda just smiled and said that he was fine standing there, just seeing her was enough to make him happy. Not missing the opportunity, Shuda continued his flirting. He complimented her familiar pastel style, saying it was cute, but her current outfit made her even more charming and intelligent, like a sophisticated, mature lady. Hinata was startled, because his eyes no longer held that childlike innocence. It made her heart flutter once again. Hinata told herself that Shuda's compliments probably stemmed from the same ulterior motive that all men have. She recalled the implied phrase, "anything is possible," and though she didn't want to believe it, a suspicion arose in her heart. Could it be that all he really wanted was a fleeting affair? And then he would leave, as if he had never loved her? But surprisingly, Shuda said he had come to discuss something serious: career prospects. Hinata was slightly surprised by his maturity, and she agreed to listen. Shuda shared that he was seriously considering finding a job after graduation, but opportunities for high school graduates were quite limited in Shiba. Hinata nodded in agreement, but still advised him to set his sights higher. However, Shuda admitted that the income might be low. Hinata didn't deny it, but she emphasized that the important thing was that the job should make him want to stay with it long term. Otherwise, no matter how good an opportunity you get, if you don't love it, it will only be a series of miserable days. Shuda smiled and asked if he could take his time to think it over. Hinata gently pointed out that it's best to choose a job that is closely related to what one truly loves. She admitted she had worked many jobs, but the only one she continued with was her love for the English language. That's when Shuda revealed his dream job, making Hinata suddenly excited. Shuda said that the income might not be high, and the workplace is near the airport. His dream was to become an aircraft maintenance engineer. This surprised Hinata a little, as she thought he wanted to become a pilot. But when she heard him admit that being a pilot was cool, she couldn't help but laugh. And then she felt a warmth in her heart, imagining planes soaring into the sky thanks to Shuda's hands. Hinata reassured him that she believed he could do it. His eyes lit up with emotion. Shuda went on to share that to become an aircraft engineer, he needed to study at a specialized engineering school, and asked if that was okay. Hinata looked at Shuda with suspicion when he asked her opinion about engineering school. When she asked why he was asking her, Shuda replied very naturally that because they were going to get married. The remark infuriated Hinata, especially when he added that he would keep bothering her until she found a boyfriend. Despite being moved, Hinata remained firm. She couldn't marry a student, but Shuda gently said that the apprenticeship would take 3 years, and she will have to wait for him once again. That brought back old feelings in her heart, feelings she had when Shuda was a little boy. Back then, Shuda came to see Hinata and said that he wouldn't be able to visit every week anymore. Hinata asked for the reason, but he remained silent. When she asked about high school and the baseball team, he just said he wouldn't be able to play much longer, which worried Hinata. Shouta asked her if she intended to stay in this place forever. She smiled and said that she loved the job and would do it as long as she was healthy. That made Shouta visibly happy. When Hinata asked for the reason behind the question, he evaded it. Before leaving, Shouta instructed her, even if he can't come anymore, she shouldn't go anywhere either. Wait for him to come back. Recalling Shouta's face from that day, and compared to his current face, which is full of determination, Hinata chuckled softly. She recounted that when Shouta suddenly stopped visiting her in middle school, she thought he had a girlfriend. But Shouta immediately corrected her. The real reason was that he was suffering from severe growth pain. Hinata breathed a sigh of relief, her worries fading as he reassured her that he was fine now. Hinata said softly that she would be very happy if Shouta could come visit again. But she also reminded him that she would be 38 years old by then. Then she joked that perhaps there would be many cute girls at the aviation engineering school, and he would soon forget about her. Shouta immediately retorted, loudly asserting that he didn't care about anyone but her. This made Hinata blush intensely. Before leaving, Shouta thanked Hinata for listening and giving him advice. He promised he would do his best, but needed more time, and he pleaded with her, "Please don't go anywhere. Just wait for me to come back." When he was out of sight, Hinata stood silently, a vague but powerful thought echoing in her heart. Perhaps Shouta really would catch up with her heart. Things were getting too complicated, and Hinata decided she had to act. She couldn't keep Shouta waiting forever, and things couldn't continue like this. Meanwhile, on his way home, Shouta muttered to himself, regretting telling Hinata to wait 3 more years. He felt so useless, not knowing what to say to make her change her mind. He longed for a good job, but it wasn't easy as a recent graduate. And if his salary was lower than Hinata's, how could he possibly impress anyone? He tormented himself, worrying whether Hinata had found another man during his 3-year absence. Finally, he cried out in despair. All he wanted was a stable job. Meanwhile, Hinata realized she needed to do something to make Shouta give up. She couldn't let him keep waiting forever. After thinking for a while, she decided to firmly reject him rather than continue waiting. Just then, a notification from a dating app popped up on her phone. She recalled having installed it the previous week. Hinata was about to delete it because she hadn't had time to create a profile yet. But then she remembered Shouta's words when he told her to wait. She pushed those thoughts aside, telling herself she wasn't the girl waiting for her prince. As an adult, she had to disappear from his sight, and so she decided to create an account. Meanwhile, Fujita was confused. She felt Shouta was deliberately avoiding her. She asked his friends about it, and they tried to avoid answering. Fujita didn't give up. She continued to ask who Shouta liked. And one friend almost answered, but the other stopped him. Fujita was suspicious. She wondered why Shouta would lie if he didn't have someone in his heart. Shouta's 2 friends quickly came up with an excuse, saying that he only said that to avoid hurting her feelings. But actually, the real reason has nothing to do with that. It's because she isn't attractive at all. They said that Shouta was simply confused about his future after graduation and didn't have time for a girlfriend or any kind of relationship. Upon hearing this, Fujita concluded that Shouta might like boys, leaving both of his friends confused and quick to deny it, even claiming that Shouta was actually a pervert. Fujita blushed, but Shouta's friends felt they had a better chance of protecting his reputation. Fujita left after thanking Shouta's 2 friends and saying that she would try harder. As soon as she was out of sight, Shouta's 2 friends breathed a sigh of relief, feeling they could finally reveal the truth. Shouta is in love with a woman who is 17 years older than him. After class ended, Shouta packed his things, still thinking about visiting Hinata again. However, he worried that she might be bothered if he did so. Suddenly, an idea flashed through his mind. Find a part-time job to save money and then ask Hinata out on a date. Just then, Fujita walked into the room and asked Shouta if he was going home. He replied by asking her if she was. Fujita replied that she was just hanging around because she had a lot of free time since she wasn't involved in any club activities. Shuda laughed, saying it was a surprise because he always thought Fujita was a serious person. Shuda always thought Fujita was a serious person, but she smiled and said that after graduation, she would attend an art school because she had received a scholarship. Shuda congratulated her and told her about his plans to attend a specialized school. Fujita was surprised because she had always thought he would go to university. Shuda had actually considered going to university, but for several reasons he had changed his mind. Fujita then asked him if it was because of someone he liked. Shuda tried to evade the question and was about to leave, but Fujita stopped him and asked for a favor. Then, Shuda helped Fujita take down a clay figurine she had made from a high shelf. He gently picked up the statue and placed it down for her. Fujita admitted that she based the statue on her own body shape. Shuda realized how he was holding the statue, and suddenly he fell down, his face flushed with embarrassment. He held the statue with reverence for her, which Fujita found endearing. She joked that her breasts weren't that big and let her hair down. Then she asked him if her face looked like the statue. Shuda agreed with her, as he had never seen her with her hair down like that before. That statue was her ideal, and she wished she had a figure like that so she could show it off to him. This surprised Shuda, and he was speechless. Fujita then apologized to Shuda for being so persistent, and she realized that she couldn't give up on him. Fujita told Shuda that she liked him, and she started taking off her clothes. She told him not to turn away, but to look at her. She wasn't very confident, but she wanted him to get to know her better. However, Shuda replied that it wasn't something he could do. Like a true man, he could only show affection to his teacher. Fujita was furious, like a gamer experiencing terrible support in a match and going through a 5th consecutive loss. She ripped her jacket as if she were the Hulk and insisted that she was serious about this. Shuda tried to stop her, but Fujita angrily told him to let her go. Shuda said that she should only do such things with someone who is truly important to her. However, Shuda was like a black hole in the dense darkness. He didn't realize anything. And Fujita responded that he was the important person to her. Ever since they started studying together, he had always treated her well. And now she couldn't forget him. She confessed that he could do anything to her. But he rejected her and put her in the friend zone. This is the first time I've witnessed a woman being rejected like this. Fujita became depressed. She apologized to him and felt very disappointed. She hoped he would look at her again while she continued to undress. Shuda was surprised. He apologized to her, then quickly grabbed his bag and ran away. Fujita felt abandoned, and she burst into tears in anger. Meanwhile, Shuda just ran out of the school. He arrived at a small building. He began to recall what Fujita had done and felt sad. Because in his eyes, there was only his teacher. He was determined that she was the only one he would ever love. He once confessed to Hinata that, besides her, he didn't care about anyone else. And yet, when he looked down, he realized he was getting aroused because of Fujita. He only wanted to keep his promise to remain faithful. But that other woman, like a sudden storm, appeared, sweeping away all his efforts. Cruel, selfish. Right in the middle of a children's English class, Hinata was teaching, chatting with the kids in English. She inquired about their well-being, and the children answered in unison, then asked her questions in return. Hinata hesitated for a moment. Something was bothering her. One observant child spoke up. She must be having relationship problems. Another, curious, wondered how to say love in English. The little girl then asked, "Is Hinata in love?" The teacher smiled, complimented her on her maturity, and then cleverly rephrased the question. "Are any of you in love?" A little girl quietly confessed that she had a boyfriend. Another boy shrugged, unconcerned about such matters. Hinata turned to Tobo, a quiet boy, and asked if anyone was making his heart flutter. Though inwardly she thought, boys at this age are probably more interested in soccer and games than in romance. Tobo looked up at the teacher, his face flushed. Then the boy uttered a compliment in English, which left Hinata speechless. She blushed too, responded softly, and complimented the boy on how cute he was. A quick-witted little girl asked, "Are you perhaps in love with the teacher?" Tobo, flustered, quickly told her to be quiet. The classroom atmosphere brightened when Hinata asked if everyone had finished their homework, then instructed them to open their books to page 56. The whole class focused on studying until the end of class. The children left one by one, and Hinata reminded them to be careful on their way. But Kunogo lingered. He hesitated, wondering whether he should say what he was about to say in English. Hinata gently said that class was over, and now he could say whatever he wanted. Then he asked, "Do you have a boyfriend?" Hinata was slightly surprised. It had been a long time since anyone last asked her that. Memories of Shuta suddenly came flooding back into her mind. She knew she had to lie, but she wasn't good at it. In the end, she could only evade the question with an ambiguous answer. Tobo was about to say something, but another child interrupted, urging him to hurry or he would be left behind. Tobo seemed unhappy. Hinata waved goodbye, promising to see him again next week. A pang suddenly struck her heart. That nagging feeling of teenage love, so gentle yet so poignant. So close yet unattainable, it felt like a needle piercing her heart. Hinata thought she needed to quickly find someone mature and sensible enough to love. Otherwise, she would remain lonely forever, and then become what every woman dreads, the old lady who keeps cats. A notification popped up on her phone. A dating party was looking for participants. The location is nearby, and the fee for women is only 500 yen if you register online. It's unfair to the men, she muttered. But if it were a casual gathering, with professors, doctors, and the like, then perhaps even she could find love. Memories flooded back. She had made a promise to Shuta when he was a child, but never thought that at the age of 18, he would actually come back to find her. Hinata felt guilty for shattering that dream. Even though she knew that a 17-year age difference was too great, she imagined that when she got older, he would be disappointed and leave her for someone younger. She pictured herself at 50, her husband just starting college. How crazy. She knew Shuta wasn't that kind of person. But if she had to spend the rest of her life with someone, she wanted someone who could make her feel at peace. Someone the same age as her, or older. The decision was made. She would go to the date, even though it was her first time. While browsing the app, no one piqued her interest. But when she looked at Chatter, her chest tightened. Her heart raced. Was this a sign of a heart attack? Should she go to the hospital? No, it's because she thinks he's so cool, tall, and every time he smiles, her heart just melts. He looks so likable, young, honest, calm, dedicated. But the age difference between them was too great. Like a perfect character only found in comic books. If only real life were like that. Hinata thought to herself, any girl who gets to date him will surely be happy. A hint of jealousy crept into her heart. She stretched, recalling the sweet things Shuta had said to her, but she couldn't date him. Like a delicious slice of pizza placed in front of someone who's jogging to lose weight. Suddenly, the doorbell rang, startling her. Part of her was hopeful, part of her was embarrassed. What if it was Shuta? She slapped herself, reminding herself to grow up. She opened the door. It was Shuta, without a coat. She asked him if he was cold, but he remained silent. His face showed confusion, mixed with a touch of sadness. When he was a child, Shuta always loved the scent in Hinata's apartment. He used to study here, and this time he brought his completed notebook. But when he looked up, Hinata was fast asleep right in front of him. He gently shook her, then stopped. His gaze inadvertently drifted under the table, and he blushed. What he saw made his heart race, those 2 melons. Hinata suddenly woke up, startling Shuta. She asked if something was wrong. He quickly made up an excuse. He'd dropped his eraser. Hinata noticed that Shuta had finished her notebook. He worriedly asked if she was lacking sleep. Hinata just said she'd go to the restroom for a moment, telling him to practice reading and try answering in English. Next to the classroom was another room, a secret place. Every time he asked, Hinata would just smile and not reveal anything. In Shuta's young mind, that room was where she slept, changed clothes, and put on makeup. Once, he had secretly opened the door, and he spotted a bra hanging there. The image flashed through his mind only once, but it was etched in his memory. The boy was strange, probably bullied at school. Currently, Hinata reminds him that he will get cold if he stands outside the door, and this time he is allowed to come in. He thanked her, but she noticed he looked completely different today. The emotion in his eyes worried her. He hesitated to tell her, afraid she would hate him. When she suspected he might have a crush on someone, he immediately denied it, but then he hesitantly confessed. Even without feelings, his body still reacted. Shouta recounted everything. When she asked about his true feelings for the other girl, he replied, "Just friends? I never thought about it that way." Hinata speculated. Perhaps he felt uncomfortable when the girl took the initiative, but his body still reacted instinctively. And then, Shuta admitted, no matter what, the person he truly loved was still her. Even though he had no feelings for her, Shuta reacted after being near the other friend, something he found disgusting, even self-reproaching. He said he had betrayed Hinata because of it. My God, he's even more innocent than the cocaine rumored to be hidden at Area 51. Hinata quickly reassured him, gently explaining that when a boy sees a woman's body, even if he doesn't love her, his body will still react. It's perfectly normal for someone his age. She wondered if these things were taught in health education classes in Japan. That's a physiological reaction. Some boys wake up every morning in the same state. Shuta didn't do anything wrong. They weren't even a couple, so how could you say it was betrayal? Seeing him so dejected, she felt a lump in her throat. Hinata suddenly thought of something she had never dared to consider. What if one day he actually became her boyfriend? Shuta blushed, and Hinata, she apologized. She knew he was serious, and she was just an older woman, awkward in matters of the heart. And now she was rambling on as if this were a light novel. She suddenly became serious. What that girl did to him was wrong, whoever she was. Gender is no excuse for crossing boundaries. Hinata had never been despairing about love or romance, so she couldn't understand why the girl was acting that way. For girls, expressing themselves to boys isn't easy. Hinata thought that the girl was definitely serious about Shota, but didn't know how to get his attention, so she became desperate and heartbroken. She didn't think he needed to forgive her. But she wasn't the only one who loved someone so much that she became blind to everything around her. She recalled Shuta's question from when he was a child, about why girls' bodies were special, and whether men could simply accept that. Even after seeing Fujita's body, Shuta never considered himself lucky. He just wanted to stop her from doing what she was doing, because if anyone walked into the classroom, they would misunderstand her. After Fujita retracted his confession, everyone told him he should accept her, but nobody cared about his feelings. It's true that we live in a society where men's feelings are completely ignored. Shouta asked if anyone truly believed in him. Then he confessed that the first time he felt aroused was when he looked at Hinata's tongue. This startled her. He recounted everything he had done, like peeking into her room, looking under her desk, and even unforgettable images of her sleeping as a child. Hinata was surprised to find that this room was private, and he declared that until she refused, she was the only one he wanted, and not even the gods could change that. Hinata was surprised that he came all the way to her house just to say that. She asked him if he ever looked at pornographic magazines or videos. He admitted to it, but never did anything with those things, because he only wanted to see her body, because his love for her was that deep. He decided that the first woman he wanted to be with would be her. Hinata felt embarrassed, a wave of confusion washing over her. She felt a little excited, but asked Shuta to stop teasing her. But he took her hand, and he kissed her on the lips. Hinata noticed Shuta's features, such as his large hands and soft lips, the scent of his hair, and the scent of a boy she had always felt familiar with since childhood. The person she liked always smelled like a boy, a smell she really liked. Not everyone could attract her, but when she met a man with that particular scent, she felt a strong desire to be close to him. She felt a strong longing to possess him. It seemed strange for both of them, but perhaps they should be together to break down that strangeness. When she smells that scent, she can't control her emotions. She'll go crazy and want to become a delicious cake in front of the person she likes. She reached for Shuta's pants and thought she shouldn't reach it, but she couldn't control herself. Finally, she accidentally touched his private parts. Shota became excited. Hinata tried to push him away and said they couldn't do that. But Shuta didn't care and said that he loved her. Shota kissed her again, their lips pressing together, but this time he was more forceful because he was afraid she would think he was an awkward kisser. But sometimes the kiss gets proper and serious, but she doesn't mind because she thinks it's cute. And then he smells really good too. This chapter is shorter than most people in bed. Hinata desperately wanted to eat cake, and she started blushing intensely when she kissed Shuta. They stopped kissing, and Hinata lightly slapped him on the cheek. She said that she couldn't do such things with him, and that she wouldn't let him into her house just to commit such inappropriate acts. Shouta apologized to her and looked at her sweetly. This made her even more embarrassed. He said he was very happy that his first kiss was with her. She warned him sternly, but he just laughed. He took her hand, and once again he was scolded. But he found it interesting. Hinata looked at him and laughed, saying that he was strange, but then her eyes drooped as she recounted the unpleasant incident at school. So, if he really was sure he wanted to do this, because it could scare him again, or rekindle those painful memories. But he said that the person before wasn't the one he loved, but now he's in love with his teacher. So everything is completely different, warm, and safe. He wanted to touch her more, and he said he felt excited not only physically, but also emotionally and mentally. Very thoughtful, very humble. Hinata tried to say something, but she sensed his private parts. That embarrassed her, and he started hugging her. They started to smell each other and became excited. And Hinata really liked it and wanted it. But she knew she couldn't. She smiled at the fleeting look of confusion on his face, a mix of youthful eagerness and endearing shyness. In that moment, she remembered Shuta, who had once said he wanted her to be the first person to step into the world of adulthood with him. Her voice was soft, half joking, half serious, as she asked if he wanted to peek at her breasts, even though she herself was no longer a young girl. Shuta's eyes lit up with an emotion he had never experienced before. He gently squeezed her shoulder, his voice trembling with pure longing. He said he wanted to see everything, not just with his eyes, but with his memory, with his heart. Hinata paused. Part of her knew she shouldn't let this continue, but before her was a young man who not only desired her, but needed her as one needs a place to return to. He whispered that he wanted the memory to be real, clear, vivid, marked by her very presence. Shuta was troubled, so he turned to his older sister for advice on how to win over older people. The answer came like a simple mantra: be honest. His determined gaze, friendly smile, and refined manner of expression, all of that would make him a lovable young man to adults. The next day at school, some students asked him to help put up posters for the festival. He nodded in agreement right there in the teacher's office, a small step, but possibly the beginning of something bigger. One day, Shuta's literature teacher commented that his English was excellent, and even the foreign teaching assistant praised him. Although slightly embarrassed, he felt an indescribable sense of pride. In class, when his friends asked about his test results, Shutaro gave a wry smile. Most of them had barely failed, except for English. The whole group burst into laughter, relieved that there was still one bright spot. The girls in the class whispered to each other that Shutaro was something special, both adorably goofy and cool in his own way. Everyone agreed. He was a good and lovable person. When at home, Shutaro studied until late at night, and he took a break to use his phone. When he saw a pornographic video, he got excited, but he quickly turned off his phone and tried to sleep. He imagined Hinata and him making love. In the darkness, vague thoughts of Hinata drifted through his mind. He used to think it was love, pure and simple. But now, that feeling is more complex, a mixture of longing and confusion. He wondered, was it still love or just a teenage fantasy? And Hinata said that they shouldn't do things like that, even if the law says it's not a crime. Shouta looked into Hinata's eyes, gently assuring her that he would keep everything a secret and not reveal it to anyone. But Hinata still hesitated, her eyes reflecting anxiety, as if something was preventing her from doing what he wanted. She said that if things went too far, it would all be up to him. Shuda smiled, watching the subtle changes in her facial expression. He gently told her that she didn't need to worry or do anything, because you will be responsible for everything. He admitted that he had deep desires, but it wasn't just about physical attraction. He looked into her eyes and firmly stated that he wanted to one day walk through life with her, to be her life partner. He hugged Hinata tightly, a gentle embrace, and confessed the deepest feelings in his heart. He apologized for sometimes being weak, and he buried his face in her chest. He acted as if he were high on some kind of drug. That amused her.